make small changes over time. For example, if you look at Nissan GT-R, which was launched, 2014, something like that, and then you look at 10 years older version, they look very, very similar. It's Japanese mindset where let's not change it if it doesn't need changing. Just make smaller adjustments and make it better over time so that when people buy this device, it feels like they're using something premium for a very long time. As much as I love building Windows PCs and using them, for the past couple of weeks and probably over a month now, I have been using the Apple MacBook Airs. So perhaps you have set your mind to a Windows laptop. Well, let me burst that bubble a little bit and explain 10 reasons why people buy this, and perhaps maybe you should as well. But if you are thinking about buying this, you want to listen to the extra tip in the end where you can actually save some money because Apple's ripping you off. This video has been brought to you by LG and their OLED and QNED TVs. Upgrade your home cinema experience through the links in the description below, or learn more later on in this video. In front of me, I have two separate MacBook Airs. The M1 that I bought refurbished and I got an incredible deal on. In terms of price to value, I don't think there is anything better on a laptop if you're looking for just a solid laptop to do work, emails, typing things, writing, video calls, things like that. Even Photoshop and photo editing is going to be good, and minimal video editing, but in terms of massive workstation, that's not it. And the same with this guy on this side. This is the Apple MacBook Air M3 model. This is the 15-inch version, and I went with the kind of a sandy golden color-ish. Right now, next to this gold, this looks very much like silver, but when you see this on its own, it kind of has like this sand cold type of color. But I've also upgraded the RAM and SSD this here, so it's got a $400 upgrade to 16 gigs of RAM and 512 storage. So these are the devices and what I'm basing these 10 reasons on. Reason number one, these laptops are 100% silent. They never make any noise. That's it, unless you play some songs back, but there is no fans inside. These are passively cooled laptops, which means they will just be quiet no matter what. Full load, they will be quiet. And that's why these are so special. There's not that many devices out there that offer that amount of performance while being completely silent. Number two, the trackpads. Now, this MacBook Air is over 4 years old. This is from 2020, and the trackpad is absolutely amazing. It's one of the best trackpads, and it still competes with one of the new laptops that are coming out. Any of the Windows laptops. We just tested the Omen Transcend 14, ZenBook 14. They're just not as good. And when we move on to the newest trackpad from Apple, that's a whole new another level of trackpad experience. There is no trackpad on Windows that is as good as on MacBook Airs. Number three, the performance. When you're using these, you start to realize these MacBook Airs have insane performance. The OS, everything works. It's very fluid, snappy experience. But also photo editing. I think a lot of people getting these are content creators on the side, but also doing content creation. This MacBook Air M3 is one of the fastest laptops ever that you can get for photo editing. Doing Photoshop and Lightroom Classic, I'm getting one of the fastest results ever that I have ever tested. I mean, we can put it against this massive $7,000 PC tower, but this MacBook Air is going to browse through it silently, perhaps even faster than that guy over there. I didn't really expect that, and when I've been trying this in Adobe software, usually it's like, oh, it's not really working well with Apple Silicon. Honestly, those days are over. Adobe works extremely well on Apple Silicon, a little better than on Windows, which kind of makes me mad. Now, video editing is going to be good as well, but I don't think you're going to be massively editing something crazy amounts in here. And if you want to see how this MacBook Air actually performs on Premiere Pro timeline test, then I've got a live stream on the channel that you can check out. Number four, which is one of the biggest one, the battery life. The battery life for these MacBook Airs is insane to say the least. The 15-inch especially, it's insane how much battery life. Like, to say that this is a full day battery life is an understatement. I'd say it's probably 2-day battery life. And if you want to get even more performance out of this laptop, what I recommend you to do is check out something called low power mode. And you can go to settings, and then whenever you're on battery, just put on low power mode. You're not gonna notice the performance difference, but battery life is gonna go even further. When you're used to on Windows laptops, when they say all day battery life, and then you actually start using them and it's more like a couple of hours, on Apple, it is actually all day battery life. And honestly, there's no competition to the battery life of these MacBook Airs. And a little addition to the battery and performance, these MacBooks never lose any performance whether you're plugged in or on battery. On Windows laptops, when you're not plugged in, it's going to be a little slower. Not with these MacBook Airs. Hey, let's briefly talk about today's video sponsor, LG, and their OLED TVs and why they are so special. Firstly, LG's award-winning TVs aren't just slim and sleek. The overall picture quality is second to none. OLED provides you the ultimate experience in color, screen brightness, and vibrancy. Whether in 4K or 8K, the deep blacks and the crispy colors make any content stand out on the TV, including gaming. Secondly, LG offers various different sizes, designs, and budgets to fit your environment and lifestyle. I'm gonna leave 3 of my favorites in the description below. Lastly, a lot of LG TVs have Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos support, meaning you'll get the best in class visuals and sound, and that's why you can see a lot of creators use LG OLED TVs as their main monitors. I'm only scratching the surface of what these TVs are capable of. Check out LG's TV lineup through the description below. Learn more about them and the 3 of my favorites. Thanks LG for sponsoring this part of the video. Number 5, good speakers. The clarity, the bass, the overall deep sound of this. Only very selected Windows laptops can match that. Number 6 is resale value. Now, even though it feels like you are paying a little bit more out of the get-go for these MacBook Airs than some of the Windows competition, we're talking about the ZenBook 14 or 15-inch ones from Asus and so on, like thin and light laptops. Even though I like them and there's a space for that, have a look at my ZenBook 14 OLED review. I think in some of the ways it is a lot better option than this MacBook Airs, but regardless, the MacBooks will keep their resale value much better. 4 years later, this MacBook can still be bought or sold for a lot of money. Now, this might have been new for around $700. You can still get at least half of this used when you want to sell this. Now, try to do that with some of the Windows laptops that are 4 years old. It's not gonna happen. Number 7, which most people fall for, is the status, the thing that Apple gives you. Now, if I rock up with this, the brand new device, Asus ZenBook Duo, which is a much more expensive device than this 4 years old MacBook. Even now, looking at this on the video, you'll know that this guy does not look as good as this. It doesn't give the same vibes, you can't explain it. Even though this laptop is better, more expensive in so many different ways, this cheap 4 years old MacBook Air is just got that Apple tax or the Apple something, that little special magical thing. Number 8 is crashless experience and update frequency. If you're using Windows laptop, then constantly you've got Windows updates all the time. There's always some kind of update going on that you need to update. With Mac, you don't have them as frequently, which just gives you firstly peace of mind that, look, my device is fine, it's secure. With Windows, you see like a little red icon there, a little red thing thinking, oh, your device is at risk. You're gonna update this, restart this. It's not the same feel, not the same experience as on the Apple. And the crashless experience. When using these MacBook Airs, it's been flawless. There's been no crashes, no updates required since I set them up from the get-go. It's just done, you know, there we go, just enjoy them. Number 9 is very similar to the previous one, is a plug and play experience. Whenever you buy them, you just basically set them up, go use them. With Windows, there are so many different things. It says register for this, register for that. Your antivirus program is running out. Register for this, for free extra warranty, register for that. There are so many things that you need to sign up for and update. Now, when using these and realize, wait a second, it's kind of like an empty void of I'm ready, just use me, let me know what you want to do, I'll get it done. Last, number 10 is the build quality. You cannot deny that these devices are extremely well built. When you feel them and use them, you realize it's solid experience. The chassis is not bending anywhere at all. Your screen is not going to do any bouncing. Even 4 years old, this is such a solid screen. The 15-inch, it's so thin and light, but the screen doesn't give any screen flex at all. It's more expensive, but the build quality, it is better. And so is the design. Don't change it if it doesn't need changing. Just make small changes over time. For example, if you look at Nissan GT-R, which was launched, 2014, something like that, and then you look at a 10 years older version, they look very, very similar. It's Japanese mindset where let's not change it if it doesn't need changing. Just make smaller adjustments and make it better over time so that when people buy this device, it feels like they're using something premium for a very long time. Instead of a Renault or Citroën, a French car that does a massive facelift every single year. So when you've got the 1 year old model, it just feels old because it's just different shape. The new one is completely different and you feel like you're using something old. Whereas in this Apple design, look, it's 4 years old. It still looks absolutely amazing. Now, finally, a little money saving tip. If you are choosing to buy one of these Apple devices, in fact, any Apple device, I highly recommend not buying it from Apple. When you're buying these devices from Amazon or Best Buy, often you get the same exact device, but cheaper. Apple hardly ever, in fact, never offers any discount in their stores. Even if their Mac Pro, I mean, they just recently only discontinued their Intel Xeon Mac Pro that was ridiculously overpriced. The point is they'll never offer any discounts, but when you go to Amazon and Best Buy, you can get some discounts. I'm going to leave some links in the description below where you can save hundreds of dollars on some of these Apple devices if you want to pick them out. So try to stay away from Apple and go to Best Buy or Amazon, you'll get a better deal. So what are you saying? Are you going to go all Apple now then? Well, it's just good to know that Apple devices are very good as well. Kind of refreshed my memory why they are so popular and why people use them. Does that mean that Windows things are completely leave it? No. Depending on what you're doing with your workflow, they all have their place in there. But these MacBook Airs, I absolutely get it. Perhaps you do now as well. Getting through the links in the description below. Okay, bye-bye.